Hi everybody, welcome to episode 41 of the Pins and Needles podcast. It's been, I think, a full month since my last normal episode. So thank you ever so much for bearing with me. Welcome to all of the new viewers and welcome back to all of you old regulars as well. Yeah, it's been a month because I had a couple of shows, one after the other, with Jenny of Owl About Yarn. So I hope you enjoyed the vlogs that I recorded about those. We always have fun making them, and I hope that comes across in the finished item. Just a reminder to check down below for show notes, links to everything, patterns, yarns, and also timestamps, because I do have a sewing section today. So you can check down below for timestamps if you want to skip about to various sections. I also wanted to say this is my second anniversary of podcasting. It actually came in May, but I was on the road with Jenny at the time. So this is my second anniversary episode, I suppose. So thank you all so much for sticking with me over the last 2 years. I will dive straight into things and leave the chat until the end of the show, but I did just want to say that if any of you have subscribed to my newsletter, there's been some new data protection regulations that have been brought in recently, the GDPR, which means that anybody who was previously signed up to my newsletter has to basically sign up again. I sent out an email to everyone that was subscribed with a link to update their settings. If you've had that email and you've altered everything, brilliant, thank you very much. If you haven't clicked the link in that email, I will not be able to send you any more emails with discount codes or anything like that. It's now against the law. So if you didn't get that email, or you can't find it, it's just easiest to go and sign up again, and then it's all tickety-boo. But yeah, if you do want to receive emails from me with discounts and news and things like that, please follow the link down below. The same is also true of Jenny's Owl About Yarn newsletter, so I'll try and find links for that as well. So just a reminder, it's all for your protection, it's good stuff. It's a bit of a faff from an admin point of view, but there we go. Right. First of all, a bit of what am I wearing? It's Friday night and I'm in my dressing gown. I'm not going to lie, it has been what my friend Becky would call a week. That's capital A, full stop, capital W week, full stop, a week. So I took the opportunity to chill out for a bit and have a shower. And it's sort of appropriate in a way, my dressing gown, because this is a handmade item. My grandmother made this for my granddad. And I absolutely love the colours. They really suit me, and it's a lovely light summer dressing gown. So I inherited it in the end and I do love it. So it's, you know, it's kind of relevant. So there we go. The first thing I wanted to do is tell you that I have very kindly been given 2 free tickets for the Yarningham Wool Show by the organisers, Sarah and Helen. And they sent me a charming little animation, which I can view and I can download, but I cannot seem to get into my my video software that I have on my phone. It just doesn't support that file type. I can't even find it, unfortunately. So I have put it on my laptop computer and I'm going to play it for you whilst holding the laptop in the direction of my screen. So I really hope this is going to work. Okay. It's only short, it's only about 15 seconds, but it's super cute. Oh, you can see the reflection of my... Oh, this is going to be awful, isn't it? How cute is that? I'm so sorry, ladies, that I couldn't figure out how to do it. But yeah, cursed. Anyway, so that's Yarningham. and it's the, let me double check, it's the 14th and 15th of July this year, and it's being held at the Ufcolm Centre in Birmingham, which is in Molesley, for any of you that know that. Yeah. Yarningham returns for its 3rd edition in July, featuring dyers and independent producers from across the UK and beyond. It will be even bigger in 2018 with twice as many exhibitors, more workshops, as well as a new and larger venue. It's a 2-day marketplace, and the Ufcolm Centre was an old home of the Cadbury family, as in Cadbury's the chocolate. And there's workshops including 3D knitting with Renee Callahan, demystifying double knitting with Nathan Taylor, introduction to Marlisle with Anna Maltz, and the chance to make your own leather purse with local designer maker Deborette Clark. It'll also have feature films selected by the Crafts Council, demonstrations from the Birmingham and District Guild of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers, a knitting surgery from the Knitting and Crochet Guild, and tons of cake. So the website is stitchesandhoes.co.uk/Yarningham, and again I'll leave links to everything down below. It's organised by Sarah Fowles, and she's tons of fun. Jenny and I had dinner with her and Helen up in Edinburgh. So like I said, Saturday the 14th of July and Sunday the 15th of July. I will leave links to absolutely everything down below. You can book tickets in advance. You can also pay on the door. That's not a problem. Now, I will put a thread up in my Ravelry group. And what I'd like you to do is, following the link, which I'll put in the thread, go and have a look at the list of vendors, because there are some fantastic vendors, including, of course, the wonderful Owl About Yarn. There's loads of vendors. It's going to be a really, really good marketplace. So I'd like you to go and have a look at the list of vendors and just tell me which vendor you would most like to visit and why. So just have a browse, have a look through. But please only enter if you can definitely make it to the show. I don't want to waste the free tickets on someone that in the end can't make it. So yes, thank you very much for the offer of the free tickets, Sarah. That was very kind of you. And good luck to everybody that's entering. Okay, let's dive into some finished objects for knitting. Usually this is classed as a half finished object because I have only the one sock, but it's actually a completely finished object. I'm halfway through writing a vanilla sock pattern, but a slightly more detailed one. It's not just the pattern. I also include a good few pages of tips and tricks on sort of understanding construction and things like negative ease and stitches per inch, all sorts of things. So this is the one sock that I knitted because I need to have a display sock for when I sell my patterns on Jenny's stand. So I have one 64 stitch sock all finished, and this is in her Sparkle Owl base, and the colourway is Tara, and it's this beautiful turquoise colour. So there's that. Actually, I suppose I could class my drink as a finished item. I did mention it was Friday night. It's nearly 8 o'clock actually. And I'm drinking rhubarb and ginger gin with tonic. Look at the colour, isn't it beautiful? About 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Dave planted some rhubarb plants outside the office window at home, and they have gone bananas. It's like Day of the Triffids out there. And there's only so much rhubarb one can stew and freeze. So I was at the point of having to start posting stalks of it through strange people's letterboxes on the school run in the mornings. But somebody on Instagram, and I can't remember who, said they were going to make rhubarb and ginger gin. So that's exactly what I did. I just Googled the recipe and I added chopped rhubarb, sliced ginger and some sugar into some gin in some mason jars and left it for a month. And today I get to drink it. So that's sort of a finished object. I think I'll need to finish podcasting before I get to the bottom of the glass, or it will all go horribly wrong. Okay, my next finished object I'm rather proud of. Now, if any of you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I had a terribly sad accident not so long ago, and I smashed my big blue teapot. Well, my husband very kindly bought me a new teapot, and it needed a new cosy to go with it. The old cosy that I'd knitted was colourwork, and the shards of pottery were all caught up in the floats, and I didn't feel that I could salvage it. I just didn't think I could get the shards out. And also it was one of the very first things I'd ever knitted, and it really wasn't very nice. Anyway, so I have to be careful because there's actually tea in this as well. This is the sheep Carousel tea cosy pattern by Kate Davies Designs. And isn't it a stunner? Now this is a seriously large teapot. This is a Le Creuset stoneware teapot, and it's quite short, but it's got a very round belly right in the middle. It's a good 20-inch circumference pot, and that's right at the top of the sizing for this pattern. I knitted it in Jamieson's of Shetland, Spindrift. The cream is just the natural undyed, and the brown is the Moorit. And the yarn comes in 50-gram balls, and you need less than one ball of each colour to knit this teapot. And as you can see, it's got corrugated ribbing. These are Vickle braids, and then you've got the colourwork. And doesn't that look exactly like a carousel? And then this lovely little I-cord loop on the top. And the very bottom edge is finished with I-cord as well. Now, Kate Davies writes wonderful patterns, but this was a bit of an exception. She states in the pattern that you need to use a 3mm and a 3.5mm needle, but it's she says you need to use the larger needle for the bottom edge, but it was completely unclear as to what that meant. Did it just mean the I-cord bind off, or did it mean the ribbing, or quite what? So in the end, I knitted the whole thing on the larger size needle, 3.5mm, and I found that actually the I-cord around the bottom was a little bit tight. I could get the teapot on, the tea cosy on the pot, but it was a bit of a stretch, so I ripped that back out and redid it on a 4mm needle, and that's absolutely fine. You can see I've still got my laptop on my lap, so I really don't want to pour tea into it, that the handle and the spout are steeked. So it's all knit in the round, and then you cut the openings and pick up stitches, and you do an I-cord bind off. Now you can see here, I picked up, so I had a white stripe, but I prefer it where I picked up directly onto the brown. But there we go. So that is my sheep carousel tea cosy. I've had the pattern in my queue for, goodness, possibly 2 years now. It was sent to me as a gift by Melissa. So thank you, Melissa. And yeah, I'm tickled pink, and I just think they're super cute. Look, there's little sheep going up and down around a carousel. So that's my other finished object for knitting. In terms of works in progress, for reasons I will mention at the end, I have been unbelievably busy. I'm always busy, but this has been a whole new level of busy. So when I was at the Wool at Junction 13 show with Jenny, I finished my vanilla sock that I just showed you, and I didn't have anything else to cast on. So I decided that I would... Oh, I don't think have I got the label? I've lost the label. I needed to start work on enormous man socks for Christmas presents. And at the time there was a Drops sale on, and one of the ladies in the booth opposite was selling Drops Fabel. So this is Drops Fabel. No idea what the colourway is. None. If I can find the label, I'll put it in the show notes, but I really wouldn't hold your breath. And I decided that I would knit Jenny's new sock pattern, which has been released, I think it's been out for a week now, and I'll leave that linked down below. And it's a cabled, ribbed sock pattern. So So it's a 2x2 cuff, and then a cable every few rows. Obviously, I can't tell you, it's a paid for pattern. Is that showing up a bit better? Yes, but it's a very small 2-stitch cable, so you don't need to be faffing around with a cable needle. You can just knit the stitches on the needle in the correct order and then slide them off. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the pattern. It's just that sweet spot between a vanilla sock being too boring and you don't want anything too complicated. I needed something to knit while stood up on the stand chatting to lots of people, and this fit the bill beautifully. So yes, it's the Spanglish Sock by Jenny of Owl About Yarn. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to rip this out because although it looks lovely, I like that the pale yarn really shows the pattern. And I do like the yarn. I do like Drops Fabel. I've knit Dave a pair of red socks from this and they're his favourites, but it is a bit splitty, and splitty yarn and cables is a recipe for frustration. So I put this to one side so that I could show you on the podcast, but I'm going to be ripping this out and finding a different yarn to knit these socks in because I'm going to drive myself bananas doing it. And I'm using my Chow Goose, and they're not as pointy as higher sharps, but they're certainly a decent tip on them. So it really is just the yarn, it's just a little bit too splitty. So there we go, that's the Spanglish socks. Tuck that in. Oh, and this, I don't think she sells them. I don't think I've seen any. But this is a bag, a sock sack that Jenny gave me as a gift a while ago. And it has one, is it a Japanese knot bag? Is that the style? And it has one long handle and one short handle. And you put the long one through the short one. And it's absolutely perfect for clipping onto your money apron at festivals. And the yarn can just pull out of the thing. It's the perfect size, so I quite like that. Or you could have it on your wrist as well if you were walking and knitting. So that's one of my favourite bags. My other work in progress is another project that I'm going to show you before I rip it out. So when I was up in Edinburgh, I wanted to buy some yarn to knit another Kate Davies design, which is the Carbath jumper. She also has a cardigan version of this pattern. So it's been all over social media. If you're interested in seeing some, if you look up the hashtag bang out a Carbath on Instagram, you'll see loads. And there is the jumper. So it's short, it's cropped, and it's got a lot of positive ease in the body. And can you see the decrease lines here? So you knit the body, then you knit the sleeves, and when you attach them, you don't decrease the sleeve stitches, you decrease the body stitches, and this gives you this lovely line, and then it's a turtleneck. It's probably a bit bigger on the back. There you are. So it's a bulky weight sweater, really interesting construction. And I think I showed you the yarn previously. It's Blorna by Hillesborg, and I bought this from Estelle of Midwinter Yarns, which I'll link down below. And this is colourway 2105, which is petrol, and it's beautifully light, nicely woolly, still soft, and an absolute pleasure to knit with. It's really beautiful, and I got my tension spot on first time with this yarn, so I was very pleased with that. So stocking stitch in the round has been about all I've been capable of for all of May. So I treated myself to casting it on, because obviously knitting a bulky weight sweater over summer, perhaps not the smartest, but on the other hand, this is Wales and winter is coming. So this is how far I've got. I've got to about 9 inches. Now the body, you're supposed to knit to 8 inches. Obviously I'm going to do it longer because I'm tall, but a lot of the depth of the body comes in the way the sleeves are knitted. So it's, like I said, it's an interesting construction, and it really produces this beautifully soft, fluffy fabric, which I really enjoy knitting with. I'm knitting it on my Knit Pro Symphonies, which I like very much, but it's too big. It's supposed to have a minimum of 4 inches of positive ease around the bust, and the pattern says that if you're not sure, go up a size. So I think the third size would have given me just under 4 inches of positive ease. So I did go up a size, and it's enormous. It's huge. It's 50 inches. It's 50 inches. So, although this looks like a big piece of knitted fabric, which it certainly is, it really isn't many hours of work at all because it's a bulky yarn and you're knitting it on 6.5mm needles. So I think I'm going to rip it out and cast on the next size down. And I can always, because it's pure wool, I can always block at least an extra inch out of it when I get to that point. When I've got it on the mats, I can just stretch it if I want a bit more. So yeah, much as I loved it, I'm going to rip it out and cast it straight back on again. So that's my Carbeth by Kate Davies. That is it for knitting. As I said, I have been super busy, and very plain things is really all I've been up to. So I will frog the Carbeth and cast it back on. And also I have to cast on my project for the Knit Tea Retreat. Renee Callahan knit along, which is going along in the retreat group as well. So I should probably cast that on as well. And that's it, I think, for the knitting. On to my sewing section. And as you can see, I have Demelza the dummy with me. I decided to get back into sewing with a nice simple cotton top. And I did, I filmed a little bit of the process, which I'll include here, and then I'll come back to you when that's finished to tell you how the project ended up. I thought I'd do a little bit of a vlog, I suppose, on the bit of sewing that I'm doing. I've had this pattern for a while. It came free with Sew Magazine, New Look K6217, and I want to make the top, View B. It is a super simple pattern. You can see there, it's one piece cut on the fold for the back, one piece on the front, and I finally listened to what everyone's been telling me in the comments, and I measured the pattern pieces. I'm on Team Trace. So here is my traced pattern. And if you can see, I've added 1 inch to the length, which I've carefully written on the pattern so I know what I'm doing. So I just cut along the length and line and inserted this extra bit of greaseproof paper. And then I graded out one size from the waist to the hips, starting from the cut line and ending out there. So super simple. I wanted to make a toile, a wearable toile, and I've got this lovely fabric that is one of my grandmother's old tablecloths. So I really can't complain if I ruin it. It really hasn't cost me anything, but I rather like it. I used to be a bit nervous of pink with my auburn hair, but I've decided if I like it, it suits me. So I cut everything out. You do stay stitching around the neckline, so I did that. And then what I've done is I have pinned it to mark out the seam allowance. So this is the 5/8 of an inch seam line. And I've pinned it all down the sides. And then I've just popped it on Demelza the dummy, and I checked my current body measurements against Demelza and altered those before I started. I'm trying to record this by showing you as little as possible of my back room because it's an absolute mess. But look, I have a sewing companion. Hey Jim. Jim the dog. You going to say hello? It's warm, so Jim is snoozy. Anyway, so I think that looks about right. Obviously it's a woven, it's just cotton, might even be polycotton, I'm not sure. And it's a grown on sleeve, like a little kimono sleeve. And I think that that's plenty of ease. The pattern said that it wanted 4 inches of positive ease. I would only like 2 because otherwise it gets a bit silly. And you needed, and it closes with a thread loop and button at the back, but to finish it, the hemlines, you need bias binding. And rather fortunately, when Grandma sewed up the tablecloth, she used bias binding to do that. So I just unpicked, goodness, I've got two rolls of this, and I've never done a bias binding hem or neckline before. So I think I'm going to do French seams, and then I will reuse this for the neckline. I think it does it for the hem as well. I'm not too sure. So yes, that's my progress so far. So as you can see, it's really simple. Oh, are you awake now? Oh no, you got the random nose licks. Yeah, so I'll sew this up. Really nice, simple summer top. And I won't know if it suits me till I try it on, but it's rather nice fabric. And for an old tablecloth, I think it's all right. I'm at the point where it wants me to add bias tape for the neckline. And it says pin tape to the neck edge, having the crease 3/8 of an inch from the raw edge, extending beyond the opening, stitch. But it doesn't tell you where to stitch or how far from the edge. But I'm assuming that you stitch in the crease. There's lots of little holes in here where my grandmother stitched it onto the tablecloth, so that's what I'm going with. We'll see if it works. Right, so this is my bias binding. Sorry, this is my bias binding. So this is where I stitched it right sides together. That's just a bit of the stay stitching you can see there. So I did stitch it in the crease, and then I clipped the curves and I trimmed it, and then I understitched it. And now, I'm trying to do this with the wrong hand, people. Supposedly, so this is the right side of the fabric. I have to press it to the back. So you'll get a clean neckline like this, and then top stitch it on from the right side. So does that look like it's right? I'll have to give it an eye and see what it looks like. I've got plenty more bias binding if I muck it up, so I can take a risk. I kind of forgot I was filming this for you guys. So it's now Monday morning, and I think the last time I showed you I was working on the neckline. And as you can see, it's turned out rather nicely. So this is the right side. This is the wrong side. And I basted it down. It said to hand stitch it down first before you do the top stitching, but that worked out rather nicely. I'm actually sewing the hems on the sleeves. So this here is the shoulder seam, which as you can see is not completely perfect. I sewed it with the 5/8 seam allowance, and as often happens with me, the arm circumference wasn't quite right. It fit, but I only had about 1/2 inch of positive ease and I wanted a bit more. But obviously I'd already sewed the neck. So I measured an inch in from the edge of the bias binding, and then using my tailor's chalk, I drew a line going from the 5/8 seam allowance this end down to 3/8 seam allowance this end, and it just gives me, you know, that little bit of extra around the arm circumference where I need it. And obviously taking up, it's a very, very small hem. It's sort of the absolute minimum 2-roll hem you can do. So this will shorten the fabric a bit, so it's not even hitting at the highest point, the widest point, sorry, of my bicep. So I'm going to do these two hems on the sleeves, and then it's whizzing down the side seams and doing the bottom hem. It's going to be good. So here is the finished item, and I am not wearing it. I thoroughly enjoyed making the top. The instructions were very easy to follow. I was very pleased with the quality of my work. I had no problems with any of the techniques. I mean, as you could see, it was very simple. The only new challenge was the bias binding around the neck, which I smashed. That was perfect. I really like the fabric. I can't remember if I mentioned on the video, it's my grandmother's old tablecloth, and I love the colours. When I finished it and tried it on, it really didn't suit me. The colours, although they're beautiful, wash me out. And even though I altered the shoulder seams, and I also took a much narrower seam on the side seam as well to try and give me more space in the arms, it was a little bit too tight. I did have some positive ease in there, but not enough. And because it's basically a grown-on sleeve, a sort of almost a kimono sleeve, there was just huge amounts of pouchy fabric here. And I think that's just the way it's cut. Now, admittedly, I did use a cotton, and as I said, it's a tablecloth, so this really isn't cotton lawn. It's got a reasonable amount of body to it. So maybe if I made it in something drapier, it would look nicer, but it just needed darts. It didn't really look very good at all. And as I said, the colour didn't suit me. So I haven't bothered completing it. I did all of the hemming. The only thing I didn't do is you need to sew a button with a thread loop for the neck closure. And I haven't bothered doing that. So yeah, I enjoyed the process. I learnt a new technique, but ultimately I'm not going to be wearing it. I will unpick it, take the bias binding off, put that back in my scraps box, and maybe it'll become pocket linings at some point in the future. I have got a couple of other plans though. Again, I just wanted something quick and easy. So I downloaded the free Tessuti fabric Mandy Boat Tee pattern. If any of you have been following Me Made May on Instagram, the Mandy Boat Tee pattern is very popular. You can get it from their website, and it's a one size fits all. This oversized boxy top has a boat neckline and 3/4 fitted sleeves with drop shoulders. This top is perfect for all season and is ideal made up in cotton, wool, viscose and linen knits. I think it has a finished width around the bust is 58 centimetres, has a 3/8 of an inch seam, and appropriate for all beginners. So I thought I would have a go at the Mandy Boat Tee because I thought that would be, nice and simple. And also I wanted to have a go at the Helen's Closet pattern, which is the York Pinafore. I love her illustrations, and I want to make this one. So again, a very easy make. I've got some sort of charcoal lightweight denim, so I'll do the kangaroo pouch version. And again, the only place it really needs to fit is around my hips. So I will make a toile, I think, but that's pretty much bomb-proof. So those were my sewing adventures and my sewing plans. So there you go. Ooh, I have to get used to not smashing the microphone on my dressing gown. Sorry. Next up is acquisitions. Now, I've got quite a few, one way and another, but I wanted to start off by showing you something that was sent to me by a lovely lady called Benita, who sent me some knickers. I had a rather strange post day, and a little parcel arrived and it had a customs label on the front, and you have to put what the contents is, which sort of rather spoils the surprise. And I read the contents label description before I read who it was from, and it said knickers from the United States, and I just thought, oh no. Anyway, look at my knickers. Aren't they gorgeous? These are tie-dyed cotton knickers, And goodness me, they're lovely. Proper bum huggers, these are. Look at that. Anyway, so Benita, I know through podcasting, she has the Fibre Pusher podcast, again, which I will link down below. And she also has a blog, which is basically benita.com. So you can head over to that and find all of her information. So yeah, she very kindly sent me a lovely pair of knickers. And, excuse me, she runs a wool company, I suppose, and it's called Dyed in the Wool, and their website is dyedinthewool.biz, and again I'll leave links down below. And as well as having yarn for sale through her website, she also sells at shows around the US, and she's recently started producing a rather fabulous newsletter, and she very kindly has been sending them to me, and I said I'd give her a shout out on the podcast. So so the company is Dyed in the Wool, and the monthly e-zine is called Diana's Digest. Do you get it? Do you get it? So it's a monthly production, which is just emailed out to you. And again, my super high-tech version. And it's absolutely fascinating. I think this most recent one, the 4th newsletter, runs to over 30 pages, so there's an absolute ton of information in here. So they visit local fleece fairs and also individual farms to purchase fleece, which they then have spun up and they dye and they sell. So again, they're sourcing local wool. They can assure themselves of the welfare of the animals involved, and they can really choose the fleeces that they take to get the absolute top quality. And they do sell quite a lot of breed-specific fibres and yarns as well. And she says the main goal is to get different types and breeds of fibre from those who are raising them to you who use them. Thank you from us and those who love their flocks. So she does a sort of a what they've been up to section. And then she always focuses on one particular breed of sheep. So the current one is Baby Doll Southdown sheep. And then there's a bit on colour theory as well. There's a focus on a knitting pattern designer and one of their patterns included in the episode. And she also, again in this issue, focuses on natural dyeing with onion skins. So each episode is jam-packed full of information. I thoroughly recommend that you go and sign yourself up to it. So yeah, it's by Benita of Dyed in the Wool, and it's website dyedinthewool.biz. So yes, thank you for the knickers. Wasn't expecting knickers in the post, but be careful what you wish for, I suppose. Right, I can put my laptop away now and I can stop worrying about spilling gin on it. The other unexpected goodie I got in the post was this beautiful project bag from Emma of Eldenwood Craft. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, I am organising the Knit Tea Retreat in Cardiff in October of this year with Jenny from Owl About Yarn. We're doing it together. It's completely sold out, I'm afraid. But we're hosting a couple of knit-alongs, and the one that we're running at the moment is anything designed by Renee Callahan, because she is one of the tutors at our event. And Emma very kindly offered to donate a project bag as a prize. Jenny and I will be recording a retreat podcast in the next week or so, so we'll show the prize bag then. But Emma was so sweet, and she included a bee bag for Jenny and I. And look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So it's got a lovely boxed bottom, which I love. It means they sit nice and flat. And then really nice chunky ties on the top. Look. So I haven't used this yet. I was keeping it nice to show you, but it really is lovely. I love the fabric, really sturdy. And a nice plain white lining, which is great because then you can see everything that you've got in here. So Jenny came to see me at work the other day, Emma, so I remembered to take her bag with me to work that day, so she's thrilled with hers as well. So thank you very much. And again, I'll leave links to Emma's Etsy shop down below, and yeah, they really are worth every penny. Fantastic. Next up, oh, another surprise parcel from the States. I had an email from Ida. Hello, Ida. And she said some very kind things about my podcast and just asked if she could send me a little something in the post as a sort of a thank you. And I said, well, goodness, that's very kind. Thank you very much. Well, it wasn't a little something. It was a honking great big envelope full of stuff. Look at this. It's enormous. And I was completely discombobulated. So she included a little note and some amazing skeins of yarn. Now, I haven't heard of this brand. It's called Mary Maxim. I don't know. And it's Tropical Breeze sock yarn. And look at the colours. Those are my colours. They're sort of autumn colours. It's a single ply yarn. Colour 06, Toes in the Sand. So it's 75-25 superwash wool and nylon, 483 yards or 400 metres in 100 grams. So it's sock weight, but it's a singles. So I'm not sure that's useful for socks, but it would be a lovely shawl or a cowl, or maybe a cowl, or yeah, a little shawlette or something. And then, I was tickled pink with this. I love a really good commercial sturdy sock yarn, and she has sent me 2 skeins of Red Heart, Heart and Soul. Look, it's gorgeous. The colourway is Lakehouse, colourway 3935, and again it's a 73% wool, 27% nylon. So this would be absolutely lovely socks. And I keep meaning to look this up on Ravelry. I'm not sure if it's self-striping or just sort of multicoloured, but it looks fabulous. So I think those are going to become socks for me. I'll need to find a nice texture pattern to knit those up in. Ooh, and then these 2 are lovely. Now these are 2 American indie dyers that I hadn't heard of. The first is Wobble Gobble. And they're on Etsy. Yeah, etsy.com/shop/Wobble Gobble. And this is 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. There's the logo. It's kind of like a chicken. See? And this doesn't have a colourway name on it. So unless it's on the inside of the ball band. No, so I don't know what this colourway is, but it certainly is gorgeous. It's sort of a lilac base with these really bright flashes of colour. And look at this, a sort of a chartreuse, acid yellow green. So that's absolutely lovely. And then another skein from Twist Fibre Studio. It's Fairview fingering in the colourway Ooh Girl. And it's 75-25 again, and it's twistfibrestudio.com. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful. So yes, indie dyed yarn, and I'm running out of hands. Commercial sock yarn, but that isn't all. She managed to fit some more in here. Honestly, I was completely discombobulated. I'd mentioned previously I'd struggled to find ChowGoo interchangeables with a small enough size, and you need connectors. And she very kindly sent me interchangeable adapters. I think she had a spare set kicking around. And as if that wasn't all enough, she even sent me some stitch markers that she had made herself. And I love these. I love buttons, right? And this is just the perfect thing to do with buttons. Look. She made little stitch markers. And they're absolutely stunning. They're all different sizes. This one's a progress keeper. It's got a lobster claw on it. And they're just really, I love this one, look. Little purple one. Absolutely lovely. And again, they're on these completely closed rings, so they're not going to, you can't see anything, can you? They're not going to snag on anything. And she sent me a whole great big handful of them. I can't believe it. And the nice thing is, several of them have really quite large rings on them. Most of the ones I've got won't fit on a size 5mm needle, so I did actually need some larger size ones for my Carbeth. So that was absolutely brilliant timing. So yes, thank you, Ida. I was completely struck of a heap. I couldn't believe how generous you were to send me all of these things, and I'm very much looking forward to casting some of them on. Oh, I don't want to lose these ones. I'll get them back in the packet before I tuck them away again. So yes, I was a very lucky duck. So that was some more acquisitions. One of the ladies at work, she's one of the yoga instructors, has been having a bit of a clear out, and she found a book, Icelandic Patterns in Needlepoint. And there are a lot of them are charted. I'm not sure when this was published. Oh my goodness, it's signed. I didn't realise that. It's signed by the author, 1994. Anyway, so what you get is beautiful cross-stitch patterns, followed by the charts to go with them. So although I'm not a cross-stitcher or an embroiderer, there is so much inspiration in here for colourwork designs and things like that. It's just a lovely book to flick through. So thank you very much for that, Tori. I've been really enjoying looking at that. Yes. This is what I was looking for. This is the yarn that I knit my tea cosy in, and I misread the pattern and I bought twice as much as I needed. So that's the Jamieson's yarn that I knit the tea cosy in. I don't need a second sheep tea cosy, so I think this will go into the knit along as a prize for that. And when I was at Wonderwool, the show at the beginning of April, I bought the tea cosy yarn, and I also bought one ball from the Blacker Breeds line, and it is a Llanwenog, which is a Welsh breed of yarn. It's just one ball of DK in the natural colourway, and I just it's 110 metres, so I might be able to squeeze a pair of fingerless mitts out of it, but really it was just for swatching. It was just for a bit of fun. And then I did show you these when I was filming the Wonderwool vlog, but I thought it might be worth showing you again with decent lighting. And that is Triskelion yarn's Scylfing DK, which is 75% BFL, 25% Gotland, and it's 100 grams, 230 metres, and it's triskelion-yarn.com. So this is stunning. This is in the colourway Cofgodas. Now, I know Carthen, the dyer, and he very kindly gave me 6 skeins of this, and he gave Jenny 6 skeins of a different colourway as a thank you for helping set up his stand in Edinburgh. So there we go. I've got 6 skeins of this. It's a perfect rusty orange colour. I think it's going to be stunning. It needs to be a jumper. I do have a pattern in mind, but I can't remember the name. But this is going into stash, and I'm going to save this to cast on until after the summer. I'm running out of space. So much yarn. So that was very kind. I fancy giving somebody a whole jumper's worth of yarn for free. Completely discombobulated. Oh, and then, you're going to laugh at this now. When we were up in Staffordshire at Wool at Junction 13, the Rare Breeds Trust had a like a caravan information van, you know, where they open all the sides up and have an awning and lots of leaflets. And look what Jenny bought me. It's the UK Rare Breed sheep poster. Look. Oh, I love it so much. The sheep are so cute. So I need to go to IKEA and buy a clip frame for my new poster. So I very much enjoyed that. And another unexpected gift. I've been super generous. I'm super lucky. My mum and dad very kindly looked after my kids for a couple of days. They're on half-term holiday at the moment, and I got them back. I really missed them. Oh. Anyway, I got them back yesterday, and Mum had been just beetling around some local charity shops, and she found some Rowan Purelife. British sheep breeds in a DK weight undyed, and this is a blend of Suffolk and Jacob. Let me show you the picture side. There we are, look. So it's this lovely mild brown and cream yarn. And I think it was originally from John Lewis, but it was 99p a ball from the charity shop, and Rowan is not cheap. I think this was originally £6 or £7 a ball. So I've got 4 balls of this, and I think it's probably going to become mittens for Dave for Christmas, so don't tell him. So there we are. I think that's it for acquisitions. And haven't I been lucky? Great big piles of yarn all around me. I'm a very lucky person indeed. Well, a little bit of a life update then, and then I think we're kind of done. So, like I said, it's been a full month since I last did a proper podcast, and May has been seriously busy. I had a weekend away with Jenny selling at Junction 13. My youngest son, Max, had his 11th birthday, and when I asked him what he wanted, he couldn't really think of anything very much. So in the end, Dave and I decided that we'd rather spend the money on an experience for him. So what he did is Max and Dave went down to London for the weekend, and they just did fun things. They didn't do the normal touristy things. They didn't do Buckingham Palace, but they went to the London Eye, and they went to the Sea Life Aquarium, and they went to the London Dungeon, and they went to the Serial Killer Cafe, and all sorts of fun things. So that was another busy weekend away. And we've got 3 members of staff that work for us, and 2 of those members of staff were off for pretty much the whole of May. So Dave and I really were working an enormous number of shifts. And we've started to repaint as well. Oh, for people that don't know, I run a gym in Cardiff with my husband, and it's a 6,000 square foot premises, and we are repainting the whole thing top to bottom. And the building was originally 2 Victorian terraces that's been mostly notched through. We have the old partition wall running intermittently down the middle of the building, but it's a lot of original brick and stonework. So when it comes to painting, you can't just flash a roller about and call it done. You're there with a paintbrush widgieing it into all the crevices. So yes, we really have had a very hectic month, and knitting has been few and far between. I've not had a great deal of time, but what I have done I've enjoyed, and I've accumulated far more yarn than I've managed to knit up this year. Thanks to the generosity of my friends. So I think that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for bearing with me till I could manage another standard episode. Thank you for being with me for 2 whole years. I can't believe it's been that long. And as I mentioned before, if you want to continue receiving newsletters from me with discount codes, make sure that you either find the email I've already sent you to click the link to adjust your settings, or just follow the link down below and sign up again, and it'll all be fine. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and click subscribe. I think I'm at 2,780 subscribers, and I would love to get to 3,000. So if any of you watch but don't subscribe, do me a favour and click the button. I hope you have a lovely couple of weeks. I'm determined to get some more knitting in. I really must get back to my design work. And do keep an eye out for the next Knit Tea Retreat podcast. That will be coming up soon. Other than that, take care of yourselves, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Bye.